Hey man, say man, y'all already know what it is. Boss, K-Pro, top boxer. Fucking us a little bit. Remember, tough times don't last. Good people do it not for sale. Caught him in the fight line, maybe matter. Peak game. You already know the rest. Before I get into the main outro, the man just got to introduce our second host. Future Hall of Fame legend, Coach B, brother in the hustle. Let me know how you doing.
Hey, what it is, folks? Long time no speak. Y'all know what I'm finna tell y'all. Hey, we clutched up, we clutched that. Y'all know what we're here to do. Y'all know what we're here to talk about. Hey, but before we continue, remember what I tell y'all. God wake you up, he put breath in your body. Everything else is absolute extra. Get up, do you, take care of you. And with all that being said, I'm gonna pass it back to K Poe. Let's continue the show and let's let them know how we flow.
Already. So David Benavidez, man, he's coming off a dominant win against Zoro Ramirez. Body bag, toe tag, right? But there's seemed to be a little bit of controversy. In the fight, Dave Benavidez landed an elbow, and a lot of people have been uh, giving him a lot of backlash, calling him a dirty fighter. Dave Benavidez has released a statement saying that hey, it was an accident, it wasn't incidental. I wasn't trying to do that. It happens. I've seen videos where people have made uh, multiple videos of him in fights, him against Caleb Plant, where he landed an elbow and a series of other fights where he's landed an elbow. Um, David Benavidez is disappointed. He feels like that's trying to take away from his win. But coach's corner. What do you think about David Benavidez and an accidental elbow? Is he a dirty fighter, or is it just a matter of just boxing? It's just a matter of him, doing what he's doing, and it just seems to happen. Let us know something.
Uh First things first, I just want to break down the fact that these two are even in the ring. First things first, like I said, first and foremost, David Benavidez against Zordo Ramirez. This fight, to me, in my opinion, since I didn't get a chance to elaborate and speak on my side and who I thought would win and why I thought they would win, uh, this fight, in my opinion, was kind of a move to where it was like, okay, David Benavidez, we can't get Canelo, we can't get anybody else. We need to do something. Okay, good move, smart move. Way to keep your camp alive, way to keep your legacy, your story alive. So, with all that being said, this is not a fight where would even expect if David Benavidez was on his type of time on track with what he wanted to do. Speaking about Canelo, speaking about guys like Bivol and so forth, this fight wouldn't even be made. This is not a fight anybody was asking for. This is not a fight anybody was harping and saying it needed to happen. Again, like I mentioned, David Benavidez needed to do something to keep his career, continuously in perpetuous motion. And this was a good move. Why not go to another division and unify something? But with all that being said, I also would include that for a lot of fighters who don't understand, when you get to a professional level and you get in the ring on a high magnitude with a guy that you consistently spar with, sometimes these pose the biggest problems for professional fighters to get in the ring, excuse me, with guys who you spar with on a consistent basis. What let me elaborate. What are you saying, coach? I'm basically saying if we go back and look at the Caleb Plant and I believe it was Resendez fight, those two are sparring partners. Caleb Plant got in there and lost that fight to his sparring partner. Why? Because they know certain tendencies, they know your strong points, they know your weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought Zordo would pose, some type of challenge due to the fact of, some tendencies of what David Benavidez like to do. To elaborate on that even further, when I got into the fight, I seen that Zordo, with him being that big, yes, he's a skilled guy to be that big, but he had no power. You have to have power, some type of power, or some type of consistent offense to keep a guy like David Benavidez at bay, and he didn't pose none of that. So let's get into the real questions now. Uh, is David Benavidez a dirty fighter? In my opinion, no. It's easy to make somebody look dirty when you can get the film, slow it down, break it down, point this out, point that out. But at the same time, that all falls onto the referee. We have a referee within the ring for a reason. He's there to control stuff like that. The fact that, Zordo Ramirez was caught by accidental blows from the elbow is unfortunate that the didn't see it. The refs can't see everything we expect them to, but they human too. But at the same time, you're dealing with a guy like David Benavidez. He's throwing maybe anywhere from 5 to 9 punch combinations at a time. So when you whipping back around, coming with your hooks, especially the curve blows and the overhead blows, that's bound to happen. But on Zordo's behalf, why weren't your hands up? So there's a lot of different angles we can look at this. So to sit there and say that David Benavidez is a dirty fighter, that's kind of beyond me. I'm not going to sit there and say that. Now, if we see this consistently in the future against, top-notch opponents, let's say Bivol or Usyk, who we're going to elaborate and talk about later on in the podcast, then I might start looking into like, okay, he using dirty tactics. But right now against Zordo, there's no need to use dirty tactics. It was incidental elbow blows, and the refs just couldn't see it to keep it, at bay. But at the same time, like I say, it was Zordo had no chance in this fight.
Coach, you hit on the head. All I gotta say is it's a way for them to discredit David Benavidez. That's just what it boils down to. David Benavidez put a masterclass performance. I didn't like Coach B said. There's nothing in the fight that I saw that Zoro Ramirez was doing to where like it was a close fight, and then boom, he landed an elbow. He was beating the doors off of Zoro Ramirez. Zoro Ramirez couldn't deal with that speed, and it seemed like David Benavidez, when him being at that weight, he seemed like he got more power, more pop on his punches. You feel what I'm saying? It looked like he was more energized. You know what I mean? So, um, I don't know. I just think it's a way for them to kind of discredit David Benavidez. It was a good win. Canelo was there. Canelo left before the David Benavidez fight. But I want to do a little subtopic in there. Coach, what did you think about Canelo Alvarez leaving before the David Benavidez fight? Let me know something.
Uh, when I classify a champion at that level, at the elite level, at the professional level, you have to have some showmanship. And I get it. Canelo, David Benavidez has been calling you out. He's been saying this and that. People are saying you're scared. People saying you don't have it anymore. But to leave prematurely before Benavidez enters the ring and does his thing within the ring, it just shows that either there's some actual shaking in your boots, or you really just don't respect him that much to where you have a plan or some type of trick up your sleeve to where you may fight him, which I doubt. But at the same time, to be, the great Mexican champion that you are, you see David Benavidez doing his thing, and yes, he may be the guy to dethrone you or replace you on the throne. Well, let's not use the throne for lack of a better term, because really Canelo's on his type of time. Uh, David Benavidez, let's be honest, El Monstro is the next great Mexican star. There's plenty of guys out there, but they haven't quite reached that platform. And I will say one guy that impressed me, that is on the Canelo now. I'm not saying he's going to be the next great Mexican superstar, but Jaime Munguia did a great job. And I see how you supported him. So that lets me know, as Canelo Alvarez, you are trying to find the next great Mexican superstar when you choose to unlace your boots, you know, never strap the gloves up again, and move out of the way. You're looking for that guy. It's obvious, but the fact that you won't give the respect to El Monstro, and David Benavidez is crazy. But leaving the ring, I mean, leaving the fight prematurely or leaving the arena prematurely just shows that, like I said, it can go either way. Either he has a trick up his sleeve to where he's planning on fighting, or he just don't want to be in the aura of David Benavidez to where those questions pop up and they have to meet face to face. Am I gonna fight you? Am I gonna fight you? Will I fight you? And he don't want to answer those questions straightforward. But with all that being said, I think it's a lack of showmanship, but at the same time, it is Canelo Alvarez. He's the politician of the boxing world right now, and we just got to kind of let it fall by the wayside and see what comes of it, see what's made of it.
Yeah, I just think he didn't want to answer them David Benavidez questions. He knew David Benavidez was gonna call him out after the fight. So I think, and I generally think he really don't want to fight David Benavidez. And I just want to say this: it's okay, right? Just say it. I don't want to fight him, right? Don't sit here and this the problem what I have with fighters today is they don't want to challenge themselves. They want to politic. But then they want to sit here and say, "Oh, I'll fight anybody. I don't care." Just say, "Look, I don't want to fight David Benavidez. He too big," and leave it like that. I told y'all on Boss Hog Boxing Channel. Errol Spence. They asked him about David Benavidez a long time ago, back in 2019. Errol Spence looked at him, started laughing, and said, "Hell no." He and David Benavidez was a David Benavidez of today, but Errol Spence knew back then. He was like, "Nah, I'm not fighting him. Like for what? Like what am I?" So all I'm saying at the end of the day, and I know Errol Spence is at a smaller weight class, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, if you don't want to fight this dude, just let it be known. Hey, look, I don't want to fight him, right? Just say it. But he does everything in his power, him and the diehard Canelo fans. They try to do everything in their power to discredit David Benavidez, right? And it's like, look, how about we just get back to being fans of the sport? I'm a fan of the sport. Coach B is a fan of the sport. We're fans of sports, right? Let's just sit here and be a fan. And Canelo, just it's okay. Just be like, look, I don't want to fight Benavidez, man. He a good fighter. I think he's a great champion. But I don't want to fight him. And just leave it like that. Yo, some people gonna say whatever, but who cares? You know what I'm saying? But David Vitta's gonna continue to be on your bumper until you sit there and just say, I don't want to fight him. And leave it straight like that. Um, Turkey Sheik wants to make another fight with David Benavidez, though, coach. They want David Benavidez to go to heavyweight and fight Alexander Usyk. Nah, I don't know. But Coach B, the question I have for you is, what you think about David Benavidez versus Alexander Usyk? Let me know something.
You know, the last time I got on here, we was on the subject of, I forget what two fighters it was, but it landed as a 50-50 fight. It's not too many fights within the boxing realm currently, especially on the elite level, where you can put together and put them two in the ring in the same vicinity and say, hey, this is a wholeheartedly a 50-50 fight. When we talk about Benavidez and Alexander Usyk, this is definitely a 50-50 fight. You don't know what's going to happen until it happens, because now you have a fundamental firefighter with some pop on his punches, moving up in weight. And then you have a seasoned OG vet who has every single tool at his size within his repertoire to pose a threat to David Benavidez. And I know a lot of people like, Coach, well, break it down. I don't want to break it down too soon, because if we do get something like this, just know I'm gonna be ready to say what I gotta say. And if you got comments or anything you want to ask me now, you can go ahead and get in the comment section and ask what you got to ask, and I'll answer away. But anyways, like I said, when we speak about 50-50 fights, it's not too many guys that you could put in the ring and say this is 50-50 fight. It's either gonna go one way or the other, or somebody's gonna have a slight advantage over the other guy. But like I said, when you put Usyk and Benavidez in the same vicinity, and you look at each characteristic in each different category that that elite boxer, elite fighter with longevity has, it's kind of like what with these two. It's like, of course, we see the blinding speed advantage going to David Benavidez. But then if you look at it, I can look at the footwork and the angle work, and it's clearly going to Alexander Usyk. Because, David Benavidez is more like a straight come forward fighter. He wants you to stand in front of him, and as soon as you turn into a tree stump, he's going to start ripping your glove down. He's going to start coming around, punching through your guard. He's going to start tearing up that ear, region, and that jaw region. He's going to start pulling your hands down. By Usyk poses footwork to where Benavidez can go to reach for one of those. He can drop, pivot out of the way, or circle out of the way, or shift out of the way, or T-step out of the way, and land two nice counter punches down the pipe. See what I'm saying? So this is a 50-50 fight. Both of these guys pose things that could give each other issues. And if we got this fight, I'm wholeheartedly wherever they put it at, wherever they choose to, promoted that, I'm invested 100%. I would love to see this fight, because I want to see David Benavidez actually be challenged, and I think Usyk is the perfect challenge for him. And there's other guys out there. Don't forget about Dmitry Bivol. A lot of people look at that fight and kind of overlook it. and be like, Benavidez, he gonna be too fast, maybe too much pressure. But no, Bivol, right, that's another 50-50 fight. Again, Bivol knows how to work his angles, pause, no freak is in full effect at this point. He has excellent footwork. He has a beautiful jab. He knows how to work that Soviet style to where a Mexican American slash Mexican warrior fighter won't be able to get their rocks off in the way they think they would when you get in the ring with a Dmitry Bivol. I'm speaking about David Benavidez again. But again, both of these fights, again, the topic at hand is Usyk. But like I said, I would love to see that. I think he should move up because at this point, there's not too many guys that's gonna be like, hey, I want to fight David Benavidez with the hand speed, with the solid fundamentals that he's starting to, display with the relentless pressure, with the being able to grow through later rounds and continue to get faster and stronger. There's not too many guys at that size that's going to be like, yeah, I want to fight him. So I think he should move up, and I think he should take this fight. Maybe speaking too soon, but I like this fight. 50-50 all the way. I couldn't even pick a victor.
Um, for me, down the line, yeah, I think this will be good. But right now, David Benavidez got unfinished business at 175, in my opinion. And now he's a cruiserweight champion. He got unfinished business at cruiserweight. He got job for time. But I don't job for time is signed to Zuffa, and I don't see that fight happening. Zuffa don't want to work with any other promotional company. So I would love to see that Dmitry Bivol fight. I think that's the fight to make. Eddie Hearn came out and said, "Hey, we've been talking to PBC, and try to get that fight over the hill." So I would love to see that fight. Like, you know, Coach B got me watching Dmitry Bivol a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Like I watched Dmitry Bivol, but Coach B, how he broke the dude's style down, it made me just dive into that Soviet style, dive into Dmitry Bivol with that pendulum bounce and the pendulum step and all that, and just how and it's awkward because me, I'm gonna try to emulate. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna go try to do it, and it's very very difficult to do. You know what I mean? Dmitry Bivol, even his combination punching is very, very different, right? How he punches is and just how quick his reflex is to get his hands up. It it looks simple, but it's not. I'm not gonna
Right,
lie to you.
right. And
Because you
and
want to
I don't.
really, I love.
Yeah, my bad. I don't mean to cut you off right here, but yeah, when it comes to the Soviet style in general, and you find a guy like Dmitry Bivol who almost perfects the style, we're talking about consistency 100%, 1,000% of the time. We're talking about routine 1,000% of the time. We're talking about a guy who's strong as any guy you can put in the ring. We're talking about a guy who's smart as any guy you can put in the ring at his weight, at his size. He's able to do things you see smaller guys do when he needs to, and he's able to do things that bigger guys do when he needs to. So he's a guy, Dmitry Bivol is a guy that, has perfected 100% almost the Soviet style. And like I say, and it's not just what he does, it's his mentality, his mental maturity when he's in the ring. Yeah, we see him and we look at him, he's like, oh, he got a baby face and all this other stuff. But when you see him operate, you can see everything he puts together from a feint to a foot feint, from to a stepping with his jab and coming back with that long extended cross. It's like, oh, he really put that together. He broke it down in different sections throughout the fight and found it would work without even showing us. And then he executed, and now he didn't hurt the guy. You know, again, like I say, to see him in the ring with David Benavidez, that'll be a sight for sore eyes. You feel me? We need to see fights like that. I would love to see a fight like that because, again, as much as I respect what Bivol does, it's like you can't overlook what David Benavidez can do as well. But again, like I say, you look at that fight, you look at what both of them have done in their history in the ring, and it's like those two styles in the ring could turn into something to where we never seen before. Fight of the year candidate automatically just for them two names, even mentioning each other in the same breath. But at the same time, like I say, Dmitry Bivol, that style, and then sometimes if he needs to, you can see where he's trying to learn. the American style as well. The last couple times I've seen him, you seen where he was just standing there kind of slipping and throwing punches and bunches. That's not really the Soviet style, but if you can incorporate the American style into the Soviet style, you got something dangerous. You're looking at a Lomachenko 2.0, big but bigger. But I can harp all day long about Bivol and Benavidez and their styles and how they pose a threat to each other. But at the same time, yeah, Capo, I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah, man. That fight, like you said, is something that I pay money for. I pay for Usyk. You know what I mean? But I just think that's a fight we can get down the line. Maybe a year from now. You know what I mean? Usyk, he ain't got no wear and tear on his body. He he gonna be here. You know what I mean? So I think that's a fight that we can see down the line.
Thanks for watching KLXTH Factory. Like the video if you felt the punch. Drop your hottest take in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a round.